session before?
You know, we're cutting everywhere.
It was interesting, right?
And he says, no, but this new
But there was a
braid
question
is gonna
about,
make it 2% faster.
it's funny because someone asked about a question, what type of
2% faster,
athletes
that's pretty
do
good.
us coaches look
And then
for in
of course,
college?
you know,
I remember when I was coaching
the
junior
under-23 team over
program,
in Amsterdam, and then Parker
a
comes
women's
up, you know, our
coach,
boat is
a
new
college
design,
coach at the
blah,
time,
blah,
said that, you know,
everything 2%
do I have
faster.
anybody
The
that they
Hudson,
might
the
be
new
interested
Hammerhead,
in?
you know, 2%
And I said, what
faster.
type of athlete are you
So,
looking
you know,
for?
you
And
wanna
they
try
said they were
this
looking
boat
for
'cause you're gonna
someone,
be 2%
this is on the
faster.
women's side, looking
I'm
for
on a
someone
flight
about
down
my
to San
height and my
Diego.
size. And I was like,
I had to go visit some friends down there. And
then I saw them race one time to carrying the boat down. It was like looking straight eye to eye with a lot of his athletes.
I know
So it was
my
interesting.
boathouse.
But
You have all those
anyway,
little goo wrappers all
thanks
over the place.
for coming to the
And,
presentation.
so anyway,
my name is Tom Bohrer.
he says, well,
I coach at Boston University. I've been
that if
there,
you
I've
use
started
this
my
as a,
4th year
you
there.
know,
And
an energy enhancer that
when Chris
you will
asked me
get
to speak at the
2%
convention,
better So it's this
he kind of
magic
gave me a
2%
topic.
he
He
said.
thought that maybe,
And then, of course, I'm at the head of the Charles.
you know, what might be
And,
interesting to you guys. And can you talk about what it was like to come to BU? And he kind of talked about, kind of came up with this topic, rebuilding BU. And I had to think about it. I never really liked rebuilding BU. BU was a really good program before I got there. It's got a great boathouse. It's a good university. It's a hard school to get into. It's got great equipment. The previous coach, Robbie Pratt, I knew personally as a friend before I even got there. So I felt like BU had a lot of great qualities. You know, I felt fortunate to be able to be hired and to take it over. But if you haven't, I just thought I'd show you just a few things real quick. If you haven't been to Boston, you know, this is our boathouse here. It was rebuilt 11 years ago, and again, 4 years into it, I still walk into the building. I can't believe that I work in this facility. It's pretty spectacular. Picture here of the inside of the boathouse. You can see when they built it, they didn't cut any corners when they built it. You know, it's all wood panels. This is kind of like from a loft area looking down into the boathouse. Just again, the main floor here. We've got 40 ergs inside there. Team room. We also on campus, we have a varsity weight room. This is kind of looking into the weight room here, and then on the far side there's another erg room that we have. So I feel like you know, it's a really top-notch facility, school, and like I said before, I think, you know, BU had a lot of things going for it before I got there, and again, I feel fortunate that I was able to get this job. The goals of the presentation are pretty, I just going to go through them pretty quickly, but you'll hear these things, and I'll touch upon these points, but again, this presentation is about more transition, taking over the program. You know, the lessons that I've learned, just, you know, what it was like, again, to come into a new program and to, you know, see different things and see some changes that I wanted to make, and think about, you know, how those things might be helpful for your own programs. You know, again, starting over, you don't have to go to a new program every time to implement new changes. It can be in your own programs, you know, starting at the start of a new season, start of a new week, new month. But some of the key points here, I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly. You know, reaching out. You know, especially in coaching, you know, not afraid to ask for guidance. You know, we come to these conferences, we share ideas, and I was very fortunate when I came on to BU to have a lot of people that I could bounce ideas off of. You know, there is getting good people to work with you. You know, managing a program. You know, we know in coaching there's so many things involved with it. You know, the recruiting, the budgets, the coaching. You know, raising money. You know, what's going to be your priority? You know, stepping stones, these are milestones. These are all things to build momentum within your program, making sure the kids feel like they're getting better. Core values, what's important to you. Expectations, athletes knowing what, you know, what's expected of them. You know, gradings and standings, how are they progressing. Internal competition. creating an environment that's, kids are pushing each other. We talk a little bit about training, injury prevention, and team dynamics. But okay. So when I got hired at BU, I got hired basically the first day of school. I didn't have any time to prepare. I went through about 3 or 4 days of interviewing, and I got hired at BU, and it's like, okay, here's the job, go do it. And I call it the honeymoon period because in September in Boston, the weather's beautiful, everyone's happy. Kids seemed excited that they had a new coach. They were waiting all summer about me about who it was going to be, but I just thought of it as a time, again, like people are congratulating you, and it was a feel-good time, and like a shotgun wedding. It was just, everything happened. Okay, we're married now. What are we going to do? We've got to live with each other now. And but I think the biggest thing is the expectations were high. Okay, new coach, new program, new philosophy. What are you going to do with it? And for me, it was really thinking about kind of coming up with a plan. And internally in my mind, I'm not a big talker. I don't really express myself a lot. But in my mind, I felt confident about training and technique, and speaking with people, and talking to parents and things like that. But really, I had to really think about how I was going to run a Division I program. I've never done it before, okay? And wasn't afraid of it because this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach at a high level, but also, okay, how are we going to do it? And again, the coaching world's a small world. I was fortunate to know a lot of coaches in the area, and I rode on the national team for a number of years and just made a lot of contacts. But one thing I did is I just started calling a few people that I knew, and here's some of the people here. But Coach Gluckman, a lot of you guys know Larry Gluckman. But Larry, when I spoke to him, he talked to me about how to structure, how to maximize your time. And again, you talk to you've probably heard in all the seminars today, coaches have 90 minutes or 2 hours a day to work with their team. Larry was just kind of on that. He said, how to maximize your time and be efficient on the water. Ted Nash, who I rode for 12 years. If you know Ted, Ted's a rah-rah guy. He's everything's positive and working hard. But Ted was like, don't forget to coach the lowest level guy. So the guys in your 3V or your 2V, work with them, make them feel part of the team, because they're going to push your other guys, and made sense, because if those guys are fighting and happy, they're going to make everyone else happy. So, pretty interesting. Bob Burns from Washington, I ran into him at the head of the Charles, and Bob talked to me about. He said, "Listen, coaching it can be rewarding, okay, and you can have these ups and downs. Every day, one day everything could be great, the next day everything can be shitty." And so Bob is like, he said, "Listen, after 2 years, if you don't like it, get out." I was like, whoa, okay. I've got talked to Larry, talking about managing. Ted's talking to me about coaching. Bob's telling me if I don't like it, get out in 2 years. I was like, all right. Charlie Butt from Harvard, a friend of mine, coaches the Harvard Lightweights. Charlie was all about recruiting. Go out, spend all your time recruiting. Okay, we're not coaching, recruit. Find the kids that are going to fit into your program, fit into your philosophy, you feel comfortable with, get to know them. Okay, pretty interesting. Okay, I'll come back to Gladstone at the end. Fred Holmbein was a friend of mine. He was coaching at Penn at the time, and he said, be ready for 3 years of up and down. First year it could be tough. Second year it could be tougher, and by the third year, hopefully start things, settle down a little bit. But Steve Gladstone, I don't know, you know Steve, right? Okay. I don't know Steve that well, but I saw him at the head of the Charles. Is Steve here? Okay, I can talk about him. All right. Okay. Steve was and I saw him at the head of Charles also, and he was saying like, hey, how's it going? You know, what kind of athletes do you have? You know, were they working for you? And you know, I started telling him. I said, you know, I had, you know, I thought the guys were working pretty hard, and I told him I think I had like 7 internationals, and he kind of perked up a little bit, and he said, where are they from? And I said, got some guys from Germany, a couple guys from Germany, a couple guys from Netherlands, a couple guys from Serbia. Any Serbians here? Nah, okay. But anyway, he got into this, and all of a sudden he stood up, and he got it like 2 inches from my face, got the finger out, like sticking it, it wasn't sticking it in my chest, but he's like, listen, he goes, you got to put your foot down. If these internationals get out of line, you got to show them who you are, and you got to just tell them this is your program, and they're not going to run it. I was like, whoa, all right. It's like, this is good advice, you know? It's like, and leading into that, I got to just show you this this video real quick here. But it was a pretty, what he told me was pretty interesting. You know, it's just like, you know, there's times in the rowing where you're going to have to put your foot down, and for me,
Hawkins is the head football coach at the university.
For me, I feel like I'm kind of a laid-back person, but at the same time, as a coach, you need to know when you need to take control. This video here, actually the audio is not, I'll actually put it on the microphone, but this is a video that I show every year to our guys on the team, and I'll just show it to you real quick here. This is
Colorado. Last week was signing day for all the high schoolers to come and sign on the dotted line. Well, apparently some little incident happened with the Buffalo football team. We'll let Dan Hawkins explain.
Some guys might decide that it's a little too tough, or it's a little too hard, it's a little too demanding. I'll give you a little example. I got an anonymous letter from a parent. Said, we just kind of bummed out this year that the boys only get 2 weeks off before they start their summer conditioning program. Normally they get 3. Well, we gave them a week at the start of the semester rather than at the end. But here's my point, okay? It's Division I football! It's a Big 12! It ain't intramurals! You got 2 weeks after finals, you got a week at July 4th, and you got a week before camp starts. That's a month! That's probably more vacation than you guys get. And we're a little bummed out that we don't get 3 weeks? Go play intramurals, brother. Go play intramurals.
You like that? Actually, this is my son. So someone asked me before, like, why do you have Asian children on your and that's my son. He's adopted. He's 10 years old.
He does look like it.
He does. That's the great thing when you have, if your child is adopted, if they're Asian, they look, people say, is he yours? And I say, sure, don't we look alike? The best thing is like, people come up and say, he's Korean, and they say, are you going to be as tall as your dad? So, and he looks at it, he's like, he's got it all down, he's like, Anyway, so Dan Hawkins, if you have, actually if you're a high school coach, you should play that for your kids, and I guarantee that their parents will never call you. Okay, guaranteed. So, this guidance, and for this, again, I came up with, just kind of 4 points here. But one is again don't afraid to ask for help, and really, I think that we never know everything, and you're always learning, and I think there's so much to learn from other coaches, and I think even from your own athletes. I'm a feedback person. I mean, I feel like in rowing, like I always felt like in the boat I had a good sense of feel, and now I can kind of look and see, but with the athletes, I'm always thinking like, okay, I can see it, it looks okay, but what does it feel like in the boat? Okay, and I think that's really important information about, okay, if I can see it, and if I want to know what they're feeling in the boat, and that's pretty important. The other thing is, again, just in that time period of looking for guidance, you know, getting good people to work for you, I had to make a coaching change right away, and then, but also, you know, the other people that were there, Coach Paget, who was here, one of my assistants who went to BU, is still with us, doing a great job. John Lindberg, who I hired after my first year. I just feel like I have a good team working for me, and our boatman Russ Cohn. You know, everyone has to be on board, and also with you know, with captains. You need this kind of, in order to have have some type of successful culture. You know, everyone has to be on board, and you have to certainly have a group that you can trust. And the next thing is, you know, coming up with a plan. How are you going to do everything? You know, everything from, you know, how you manage the team to training plans. And the biggest thing that I've learned, you know, not just with BU, but also is that, you know, every now and then you've got to tweak it. You can say, yeah, we're going to do the training this way, but at some point, if it's not, you know, if it's training plans too hard and the kids aren't getting through the workouts, or you're not, you know, you think you're going to start out with this drill, and you know, it's not really working, you got to take a step backwards. So, you know, you have to have the confidence just to feel like you can make those adjustments in the plan. And really the last thing, you know, again, when I was just, you're going to hear this a lot, is the team pulsed. You know, how's the team doing? You know, just, not just, you know, rowing wise, but, you know, do you feel like they're making progress? And for me, you know, with the management of the entire squad, and you know, in college, all the meetings, and you know, filling out, you know, receipts and recruiting, and at the end of the day, I felt like with everything that I needed to do, if I felt like the team was in a good spot, then I could handle everything. So, you know, my philosophy is, you know, the team first, okay, making sure that they're, you know, feel like they're getting better, they're healthy, you know, moving forward. Okay. Any questions on that at all? Okay, cracks in the armor. Okay, so I felt like when I came to BU, I kind of expressed, you know, philosophy, you know, technique, you know, how I envision things, but I felt like, you know, leading up to the Heather Charles and the Princeton Chase, I thought the rowing was pretty good, but you know, we weren't that fast. Okay, and I think. You know, there's a little bit of letdown when the team didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do, and you know, at that point, I felt like, you know, we kind of went through this transition from honeymoon. Okay, now we're kind of seeing who each other are. Okay, and you know, and just some little things started creeping in, like you know, some guys, you know, there's a little bit, you know, arriving late for practice or missed. You know, some of my internationals, the sense of entitlement. Well, you know, I don't need to do weights because I'm strong, but you know, or you know, I row better than you, and you know, just a little more kind of guys getting injured or saying they're injured, a little bit of illness, a little bit of you know, alcohol abuse, just you know, drinking during the week, you know, just excuses, and you know, it basically came down to just not a you know, winning, you know, culture here. Okay, and you know, again, not guys weren't bad kids. Okay, they're just not sure how to manage it. Yeah, the big thing is here, we want to go fast. Okay, we want to be competitive. We want to do things, but are you living the life? Are you doing the things necessarily that are going to make you fast? Okay, and we were doing stuff on the water, and the technique was okay. Okay, but are we doing everything else? And you know, I just put this, you know, the test of a person really is when, you know, how they react when things aren't going well. Okay, that's the true measure of a person. Okay, when they're really put under pressure. So for me, again, it was this transition period of, okay, of now I've really got to get tough here in the sense of, organizing, not so much, well, the team, but also making sure myself I was organized. And call this kind of the sink or swim period. Okay, we're in late November, and I remember December 15th. A few days before that, two of my captains came up to me. They were seniors, and said they wanted. They came up to a list of names. They had 7 guys that they thought that shouldn't be on the team anymore. Okay, and do you remember the Titans? Remember that movie? Captains come in to Coach Boone and said, "Coach, we want this guy off the team." It was a big thing. I'm looking at some of these guys. They're pretty good guys. So I'm like, all right, this is serious stuff. But for me, I needed to, my message of what my vision was not getting through, just, verbally. And, for me, it took time to, I took about 2 days, locked myself in my office and at home, and I drafted what I called core values and team rules, okay? And I never thought I'd have to write a team rule about what the consequence is if you miss a practice. It's just, you don't miss practice, right? You don't show up late for practice. But, okay, had the right team rule for late practice, okay? Had the right rules for, alcohol policy. It's simple to me with drinking. It's, the state of Massachusetts says your drinking age is 21, okay? And, but if we had drinking rule, the guys actually in the spring voted to go dry, which was nice, okay? But we had a drinking rule that if you were old enough to drink, that you couldn't drink 24 hours before a practice. So if we were practicing on Saturday morning, they couldn't go out and drink on Friday. Same thing midweek. So it really left the time, if they were old enough to drink, they could go out on Saturday night. But we had to talk about that. We had to talk about injury and illness. If you were injured, we had trainers getting healthy, getting treatment. Weight room, we do everything as a team. If the team is in the room for weights at 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, everybody's there. Team travel, this is what to wear on team travel. I mean, I never thought I'd be writing about it. Social media is a big thing. And actually that's a school policy as well. Drug policy, I have a zero tolerance. That's the one thing that if there was any use of illegal drugs, marijuana, coke, or anything like that, they were instantly gone. There was no grace period in that. But really just everything, consequence. We have study hall hours that the kids are required to do. Some kids are required to do a certain amount of hours. If they didn't meet their requirement, what the consequence was, and it was pretty painful to write. And I have to say now, 3 years into it, we go over the team rules in the beginning, but we don't even talk about. They see this. They don't see, okay, first offense, second offense, third offense. They just know that this is the rules. This is what's expected of them. And I feel like we've finally got to a point where now, kids don't miss their study hall hours. They're on time. They're they come to weights. Everyone does it. If they're injured, they still come to weights and they do the workout based on what our trainers say. And again, it's just created this cohesiveness in the team, and in the sense that everyone does the same thing. There's no sense of, I'm better than you, and it just, it was really, for me, and then when I did all this, then for me as a coach, I had to hold myself accountable as well. I had to say, okay, the kid that does, after this offense, I've got to put the bullet between the eyes, and it's a painful thing, but you have to send the message to the team, and and again, that's not my forte. I don't feel like but I have to do it when I have to. Yes.
Have you had a situation where you've had to let somebody go from the team and
Yes. Yeah. I had a period where actually we had an incident last spring where we kicked someone off, and then we allowed them to come back this fall. But really, when I did that too, I talked to the captains about it, and I spoke with the team first about, if we were going to allow this guy back in. Yes.
What happened to the guys on the list?
Well, it's interesting. I think 2 of them went, but I think when we had this meeting on December 15th, it's like the big D. Dave can tell you. It was a big day of. It was a meeting where we basically called everybody out, and the guys that were, just causing the trouble. Everyone got called out and put on notice, and when they saw their teammates wanted them off the team, they were pretty shocked. They just thought like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever I want. But when they knew that their teammates said, you know what, John and Joe and Bill, they want you gone. And when they saw that, then it was amazing how much they changed. Okay? And at that point too, they were on a leash about this long, and so it was pretty enlightening after that. And for me, at that point, I felt like we could move forward. I felt like there was like the bear was lifted off the back a little bit. And the core values here, the guys made fun of it, like the acronym CARPO. It's like CARPO, but if they're making fun of it, they know what it's about. That's a good thing. Okay. But I just drafted some of these things that just, okay, if we're going to get better, what's important to me, okay, and what's important as teammates here. And being competitive, everyone says, oh yeah, we want to win, we want to beat Northeastern, we want to race against Brown. It's like, we're not going to be competitive with them unless we start being competitive within ourselves. And so the competition between the crew needed to increase. And we'll talk a lot about that in a little bit in a minute. But it's not just the competitiveness within rowing and racing. It's it's competitive with trying to get the highest GPA, which kind of goes into academics. And academics, our team has always done pretty well. It didn't really have that many issues with it, but we had grade point. Our team has always been a little bit over 3.0 as a team, but you go to school to get out of school, okay? And so academics is important. Respect. We are a team, okay? What's important to you is important to me, and tell the guys they don't have to love each other, but they have to respect each other, and they have to fight with each other, fight in the boat. And preparation, okay, we know on race day when you get to the line that you feel like confident that you've done everything that you're prepared for the race. But again, everyone thought of everything like in the rowing sense. Preparation is also like, yeah, I'm prepared for practice. I've had something to eat before the early morning practice, okay? I have something that I can fuel with right after practice. It's, if it's 40 degrees out, we're going on the water, you're not wearing shorts and a tank top, okay? And it's just a little bit of reminders, okay? It's just like, it's not just, getting to the line and doing the workout. That's not preparation. It's every little thing leading up to that. And, and all that kind of breeds the confidence. And the last thing is opportunity. Everybody has opportunity to succeed, okay? You've got this boathouse, you've got coaching, you've got equipment, you've got medical staff, weight room staff, okay? What are you going to do with it, okay? And the thing is about the core values is that it's not like we try to talk about this core values today. It's just, we just in the message every day or after practice, we just touch on some point, but we don't say like CARPO or preparation. It's just, it might be a Saturday after we're done. It's like, making good choices so that we're ready we're not going to waste Monday morning's practice. Just little hints, little reminders, okay? Any questions on that? Team rules we kind of went over here. Building trust and confidence here. again, we talked about the expectations. Again, once the kids knew what was expected of them, it was a lot easier, okay? Again, I needed to draft that out, so that was helpful. But I think the big thing, too, is that the kids that we're getting in now, recruiting-wise, they know when they walk in the door in September what's expected of them. And I think that, that kind of building along has really helped us a lot. Okay, and the other big thing is building this confidence is really kind of pointing out, I call it stepping stones and then milestones. Stepping stones are just those little things that you can see for improvement, okay? And maybe that your team or your athletes don't really think of them as, they might think, maybe a workout wasn't as good, but if you had a time or if you're doing something on the erg, I kind of keep average pace for the entire workout for the whole team or meters for the whole team. Maybe someone didn't have their best piece, but as a group, as a team, as a boat, we got more meters, okay, or a higher or a faster average, pace for the workout. It's good to leave at the end of the practice knowing that we've made some, we've made some improvement. And technical, we use a lot of video. So again, showing, going back and forth, this is what you're doing, this is the change that you've made, okay? And then going back to it later on, they can see, I've made improvement, okay? One thing I've noticed is a big milestone for me the first year was that, after that December 15th meeting, okay, the number of, days that guys were injured or sick was going way down, okay? And a milestone for us was like a week before we went on our spring break trip. Everybody was on the erg. No one was on the bike. Everybody was on the erg doing the workout. And you could just feel the energy of the thing. And I had to stop the guys. I said, look around. Every erg is being used now, okay? So it was maybe a small moment for maybe other programs, big moment for us, okay? And, and again, right now, I just feel like the culture of our team right now is like we had a good fall. We made good technical changes, but really I can count on one hand out of on the varsity squad of the missed practices for we probably had, I think, 4, illnesses, where maybe a guy missed a practice for sickness. That's pretty good. And a lot of that's luck, okay, that a bug is not going through the program, but I think also kids think twice about when they need to miss practice, okay? I remember our first year, I had this one kid, and he's from another country. He had like a little bloody nose during the workout. He said, my nose is bleeding. I said, what do you want me to do? He's like, I can't row. I said, why not? A little bloody nose. And then one day it was like my stomach. My stomach was hurting. It's just like, every day, it's just like. But now I think guys think twice about when they're able to row. And I'll never ask anybody to row injured. I'll never row anybody to row sick. Okay, but if it's just a little dryness in their throat when they wake up in the morning, that's not an excuse to miss practice. And I think that we're at this point now where guys just come down to practice. Okay. And again, it's the little things. You get your team coming down. The quality of practices are getting bigger and bigger. And the other thing is when guys are missing practice, I talked about our core values of opportunity. Okay, someone else has the opportunity to move up here. Okay, and it's worked out a lot. And again, at the end here is can you make an honest assessment? Are we faster this week than we were last week? Okay, and you can point things out. Okay, we've made, you're talking to the kids on Saturday before they leave for the weekend, things that you've accomplished. Okay, are we faster? Okay, are we better this week than we were last week? Okay, just the little things that just feels like keeps your crew on track. And they might be pessimists, where every that they feel like every workout's got to be lights out. Okay, to be a great workout. Or you talk to kids and how was the workout? Oh, the boat was down a little bit to port. It's like, well, yeah, I'm looking at the speed. It looks pretty good. Okay, would you rather have it perfectly set and slower, or just a little dip every now and then, and go faster. It's just okay. All right. Team building. This is not something I've used a lot, and it's I've used it a little bit. Leadership council is something that we got from our hockey coach, Jack Parker at BU, who's been at BU. He's like the Harry Parker of hockey at BU. He's been there 30 plus years. He's won numerous national championships, but he kind of talked to us about this leadership council. And we have captains, and again, we use it when we have to, but the leadership council is when you just get a group of athletes together, not just your captains. You get like a couple of sophomores, freshmen, juniors, seniors, and you might just talk about some team dynamic of your team. And it could be, how are things going, or maybe there's an issue, or the meeting could last 10 minutes, it could last an hour. And it was interesting. The first time we did this last year, we had some freshmen in there, and we were just talking about, like, we had it early in the fall, and like, what do you think of the guys on the team? And like, all the freshmen thought that just the sophomores were really arrogant, and just, and it's just like, it was interesting. It was eye-opening for the sophomores. Like, here they think they're kind of, better than everyone else, and it was just helpful. I thought it was pretty good. Again, basically it's all kind of team-oriented. Like, what are we doing well, or maybe what's something we can do better. One time someone in the leadership thing said, "Coach, we're rowing in the morning. We have class at 8:30 or 9:30. You said we're going to be in at 8:30. We're getting in a lot of times. We're getting on the dock by 8:45." It's good information for me. It's just, it keeps me on track as well. And so it's just the little things, the reminders, just as a team, or even things that maybe I can do a little bit better. And, keeping everyone honest here. We did this thing, I probably do it once a year. I have the athletes write one thing positive about what they're doing, one thing positive about someone else in the boat. And again, not a big team building type person, but every now and then, I remember I had to use this my first year in my varsity boat. They were pretty good, but I just felt like a lot of times it was just like the row wasn't perfect, because I could hear like the little cat fighting, like this guy's blade's always on the water, and this guy's doing that, and focusing more on what the other guy was doing wrong versus than what they were doing. And so two things. When I read the things about positive, it's like, I had this kid stroking Mindert. He actually ended up going on to the Dutch national team, but good rower, but didn't have a ton of confidence, And he thought he was stroking the boat, and he didn't think like he was doing a good job. But all of a sudden, he heard like Mindert is a great stroke. Mindert is a good stroke, sets good rhythm. And all of a sudden he was like, wow, these guys think about me like this. So it was pretty enlightening. And in the next practice that we went out, it was a really good row. Okay. The other thing is, yes?
How did you distribute that? Did you just collect them?
Yeah, I had them write it down on a piece of paper, and then I read them. And then we could figure out, they didn't write anything about themselves, but it was, it was just real quick, and it was pretty good. And then the other thing we had to do one time, we had, again, you could do the same thing as like, what's one thing that you bring to the boat? And this is like the guys have to think about. Okay, if you think you're really good, tell me about it. Okay, what do you bring into this boat? And a lot of guys would write down like, I'm calm on race day. I'm a good racer. Some guys are right. I have a good technique that enable everyone else to row stronger. It's just different things, but everybody heard it. Okay, and then it's like, all right, make sure you're bringing what you said you're going to bring to the boat today. Okay, and you look them in the eye. Okay, if you're this guy that says that you're going to keep everybody cool in the boat, you can collect everybody, then I want to see it. Okay, seemed to work out pretty good. This is one thing I just learned this year. I did this year. It's again, it's something that this one I got from a basketball coach at BU, and he had write on a piece of paper. You had the guys write one truth and one lie about yourself, and the truth is that's something that no one knew about you. So, you know, if I did something for myself, it says, you know, I like to cook and I like to go to the ballet. Okay, you have to figure out which one is the truth and which is the lie. What do you think it is? Khalid? What do I like to do? Do I like to go to the ballet or do I like to cook? Ballet? No. I like to cook. Okay? All right, so see, you know that about me, right? Okay, so next time you see me, you can say, have you cooked anything recently? Okay, but the important thing about it is that, you know, and the basketball coach told me about it. He had a kid on his team that his truth was that he grew up in 14 foster homes. And the whole thing about it is that, you know, as a team, the more you know about or the more you know about a teammate, okay, you know, the more you're going to fight for him. Okay? Yes.
How did you use this information? What did you do? If they filled out, if they wrote this, did you exchange between?
Oh yeah, we did it all together. So I give out the paper. I said 5 minutes. I want you to write down. And then we did it right there. No, they gave them to me, and I was like the moderator. Yeah. And but you know, again, it was, you know, some things were just, you know, some things guys wrote funny things. You know, some I couldn't even read because like it wasn't appropriate, and you can imagine what they might have said. But other things like, you know, one kid, you know, that everyone thought was you know, always kind of, you know, tense and tight, and maybe, you know, and the team was everything to this kid, and he wrote for his truth that, you know, my mother and father never cared about me, and it was like the whole room went silent, and but here's a kid that, you know, he was a walk-on, he was in the 2F last year. He could maybe be a 2V guy this year. The team is everything to him, and the guys just give him shit all the time. And now it's like, you know what? You know, he's come down, he's working hard every day. He's beating guys on the erg now that he hasn't done before. This team is everything to him. And, you know, just, you know what? Keep badgering him, and he's gonna beat you in the boat one day. So, again, it was just, it's just something that, you know, little simple things that, again, we don't use all the time. You know, maybe, you know, once a year for the, what you bring to the boat or something positive. But, you know, I found like I did it like if we were ready to go out and it was a thunderstorm or raining, you know, we can do something productive, okay? And actually the other thing I don't have on there, this other thing I saw one time is you throw like a whole bunch of pieces of paper on the ground, and you could take like the coxswain and you could have him face the wall, and then the boat, the 8 guys, he has to close his eyes and he has to give them directions how to get through the line without touching on the paper. And the coxswains love it because, you know, you have to say 1 foot back. But the thing is that all 8 start telling them directions. And it's just like, no, do this, do that. And finally, someone's got to take control and do it. And the really thing like that is, you know, in leadership, you know, sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut and let someone else talk. So it was, you know, little things pretty helpful. And again, you know, one thing I should start doing this year is do a little series every now and then on what makes people great, you know, or we have a discussion of like the Bruins won the Stanley Cup this year, and you know, the previous year they never got out of the first round of the playoffs, and now they made it to the Stanley Cup. You know, we talked about it. You know, and I had this picture in my office of you know, the goalie Tim Thomas like this, you know, trying to make a shot, and there's 2 guys in front of him. One guy is just diving, just with his hand out, not even a stick, you know, blocking the puck, and there's this other guy in front of him doing the same thing. And it's just like, I mean, no other word, that's teamwork. You got the goalie, And then you got the other guy with his hand out, no face shield, just he's got his teeth like getting ready for the puck to come into his. That's teamwork, And I did one on Laird Hamilton, who was his big wave surfer, okay, and he just sets these records for surfing bigger waves. He's a little bit crazy, okay, but he just talked about, he felt like this was his passion in life, and all the other surfers below him were pushing him to go to a higher level. It's just little things. There's all these different values of things that you can do. And the other one I did was on Seabiscuit. Did you ever read Seabiscuit, the book? Not the Disney movie, but the book was pretty good. I don't know anything about horse racing, but it was a great coaching book to read because Seabiscuit, he's one of the best horse racers in the ever. This is back in the 30s, but everything a thoroughbred was not. He was short. He had stumpy legs. He had knock-kneed legs. He was lazy, and he slept sleeping. I don't know anything too much about horse. I thought horses always slept laying down, but I guess they sleep standing up. They have a ligament where they stand up, but his ligaments weren't strong enough, so he just laid down and slept. And but on race day, the trainer had his. They talked about had his on his saddle and all his racing stuff, and when he saw that, he knew it was race day. But the other thing too is that, when you're coaching, and actually in the panel of the pairs, the pair panel of the small boat rowing, you're talking about athletes, about what's the ideal athlete, what are you looking for? You never know, right? And someone's always going to surprise you. You're thinking about, you're looking for this certain height, but you find someone that's athletic that maybe is not as tall, or maybe they look like they're not as fit, but they get the job done. And you're always going to have those athletes, and you're keeping that open mind about who can have the opportunity to make a boat, and you always have that group that surprises you. Okay. Any questions at all?
With the council, are you moderating that, or does someone come back and report to you?
Sometimes the coaches sit in on it. Sometimes we just the captains will just run it. I prefer. I like to talk when I'm not there. I think it's pretty good. Not that I don't. Maybe they're mad at me and talk about me. I don't want to hear that, but it's okay. But no, I think either way you can do it. And I think if you're in there, you could just it's just like, hey, what's how do you think the training's going? Do you feel like you're getting better? And then just do you like the drills? Do you like yeah, I mean, again, there might be a topic that might not be an agenda. And sometimes usually someone will come out and say something where I mean, I know like last year, our freshmen were just causing a lot of, just nothing bad, but just being loud in the dorms and occasionally getting in trouble. And, we had the upperclassmen just go in there and, just say, hey, you guys this is not acceptable. And you're making the team look bad. You're wasting the coach's time, having them to have to go down to, housing or talk to the AD. It's, and it helped out a lot. So, okay. Again, just, what has worked, at BU, again, the expectations, pointing out the milestones we talked about. Even boats, that was a big thing. You've heard a lot of other coaches talk about things, but, a great way to build up competitiveness within your program. And I remember our first spring break in '09. I had 2 8s that we made into even boats, and it was great. And I thought that was the biggest milestone that we had as a program, because we go out for these 3-mile cruises, stroke rate 20, and I said never more than a bow ball apart. Okay, and it's just like one boat, would be bow ball, and then as soon as you're down, you squeeze on a little bit more, And by the end of it, they're still rowing 20, but maybe instead of being 148, they're 142, and it really turned into a very competitive. And the guys felt like it wasn't. When you start forming boats, the biggest thing I worry about when I start forming boats is that the guys that are going in, the guys that are in that 2V are going to think like, oh, I'm not. They all I can think about is being in the 1V. And when we do the even boats, it's more about they're just thinking about the boat that they're in. And if you can get your team just to concentrate, no matter whether the 1V, the 2V, the 3V, that's the boat they're in. You're either going to make it go and make it a great experience, or you're going to be, piss and moan about it. But these even boats, when we went to, like everything we did, it always was really, really close and really competitive. And I felt like when we went to start forming the 1V and the 2V that year, our differences weren't really that far apart. On a good day, the varsity would maybe be, 6 or 7 seconds up, over 2K, and if the varsity wasn't on their toes, for a particular piece, that JV might be right with them, and that was their job, to make things miserable for the varsity. And so that was a big thing for us. The ranking system, actually, I'll go right. I'll talk a little bit more about that now. The ranking system is something kind of, all coaches take notes, and obviously after the workouts, you're taking times, or if you're switching people, or you're writing down like how the workouts have gone. But on my computer, I take times and margins and things like that. But I think the big thing is that athletes need to know where they stand. And for me, I started doing this when I was coaching the high school students. Like when they come to me and say, "How come?" As a coach, I feel like I owe it to them. Like if they feel like they're not in the boat that they think they should be in or want to be in right now, I feel like it's my job to give them an honest assessment of where they stand, instead of like, "You're not strong enough," okay, or So I feel like, we have data, okay, and I went to school for science and engineering, and as we say, the data doesn't lie, okay. But in the spring for the varsity, we do a time trial in the pair. We do a weekly erg. We call it our bread and butter. It might be, it varies of what it might be a 30-minute or 10K or 6 by 5 minutes with 2 minutes rest. We do mixed boats, like in the fall. We'll do 2 by 5K, like head style, at controlled ratings, 26 or 24, 26, 28, change in each mile. And again, I just look at what pairs are up high. And again, remember the pair thing? Everyone's saying you might not get great data from it, but we'll switch lineups around. Our guys really seem to like the pairs, and we seem to get some good value. But the thing about the pair is that you see these and all these things, you see trends, and it's not a surprise. Like maybe the guy that's in the pair, he goes into the mixed boats. The top guys in the pair, like 1, 2, and 3, they're in the mixed boats, and their boats are up there. Okay, and the guys that are in the pairs each week, maybe do it over 4 weeks. They change the lineup, they change the partners, and they're always like 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then you put them in the mixed boat, and in the mixed boat, if we have 4 boats out, they're in 3 and 4, and then in the erg, they're kind of in the middle of the erg or below the guys that are the same height and size. Okay. I had a guy that I had this conversation with last year. He fit all that criteria. Was in the big guy, in the bottom of the pairs all the time, never really doing anything stellar. With the weekly erg. In the mixed boats, they were 3 or 4. In the weight room, you could do 3 pull-ups. We do this core mobility stability test. He couldn't, he was always either in the middle or slightly below. And we started doing this. Well, I'll talk about the ERG report card a little bit, but I just showed him. I said, listen, there's nothing showing me that you deserve, or are going to make it into this boat just yet. I mean, why, you haven't done anything. And, once he saw that, and Mike, Tatey was saying, like, are you doing anything extra to get better on the ERG? Or we do this a lot of core mobility work. We have someone that just comes in with our team weekly to work with our team. They're given specific exercises. I mean, are you doing anything? Because I just see you come down to practice. You do the workout, you stretch, and then you leave. Are you staying that extra 15 minutes to do your mobility stuff, your stability stuff? And so I feel like with the ranking system, it really, I think it's important for any kind of culture of the team. If the kids feel like they're contributing, okay, they feel like they have a place on the team, whether it's first, second, or third boat, or I have some guys that say, listen, you're going to be fighting for the third boat this year. But, they're doing well in school. They're not being a distraction to me. I'm able to send them out in a single or a double, 3 or 4 times a week. They've accepted that role. I said if someone gets sick or, every couple days I'll put you in the 8. But as long as they know what that role is, that kid's going to be happy, okay? And, and we just call it everybody doing their job. And, at some point they'll have an opportunity to move forward. Yes? No, I don't post it, no. Yeah, sometimes I'll post, like, if we do a time trial, what the times are. But I don't rank them like, Joe here, this here. I mean, they yeah, no.
But you do post all the results of
I'll post the ERG results, weekly.
these pieces by friends. You do post.
Yeah.
For the kids that want to put in the extra work and sort of get faster, they're serious about it, how long of a leash do you give them to sort of create their own workouts to try to get faster?
They'll come and say, like, I want to do an extra ERG workout a week, and I'll give them, something. A lot of times they'll come to me and ask for a suggestion for a workout. Like if they just need to, if they have like 45 minutes or an hour, once a week, I'll give them, some type of additional, steady state workout to do, and I'll give them splits to hold and just see how they kind of progress with that. But some guys are pretty motivated, and they'll spend a fair amount of time, and based on their schedules, they can find some time during the week to be able to do that. Sometimes, I'll take a pair out. I remember at spring break last year, I'm a better coach in the boat than I think I am out of the boat, and I took some guys out in the pair and just rode with them and just see how it felt. And then I was able to, just tell them when I thought the boat was moving nice, like this is the feel that you should be always going for. And it was really helpful. It was kind of fun too, but I couldn't do that all the time though. Okay. Any questions on that? And the report card is actually something that we just started doing this year. Instead of having the coxswains sit around and just watching guys in the ERG, we give them like 4 or 5 guys to work with. But the one thing about erging is just that a lot of guys just feel like, or not just guys, just feel like there's different technique on the ERG than there is, in the boat, and all of a sudden, they can start pulling up to their neck, or the elbows are going down, or they can go to the catch and stop and go for extra reach, and we hold them accountable. We have these standards for the ERG, and we'll rank them and circle it based on what they're doing, and it's really important. And it's just we spend probably about, well, the weather's been pretty good right now, but anywhere from like middle of December till end of February we'll be indoors, and so it's the ERG technique is is pretty is really important. And I can't stand looking at just everything that we're not having the discipline to still set the body and row horizontal and finish wide with the elbows and things like that, or finishing and then losing the control of the core. It's just I draw the line at that. I'm not going to watch it. It's just poor poor discipline, and and just kind of holding them to a higher standard is again with the coxswains. It's just I try to assign them during the winter like four kids for a workout. So I mean we have like or five kids, and they'll just work with them, and I'll just say just keep reminding this person about their staying horizontal or no extra reach, or check not over compressing, and just giving them kind of people to work with. And also too, I think with the coxswains too, it's just like we'll watch someone and we'll say, what do you think of this rowing? Or I'll say to the coxswains, I said, this guy's rowing really, really well. And what is he doing? And so they can, like I say, this is what I think is good. And and then in the erg too, we call like our technique. If you know what a folding chair, if you just kind of fold it up the chair, it just folds up the same every time. And I'll show you some video when we finish up here. It's just as they come forward and they get their body forward, it's just the knees just come to the body. It just kind of folds up nicely instead of just getting the body angle late and then just from half slide into the catch, just continuing to go down. It's a very simple technique, but I can show you guys a little bit of that. Yes. Oh God. Ooh. Time goes by when. Actually, okay. Actually, just real quick here. Just a little bit of this training cycle. In the fall, we were all about kind of, teaching. In the winter, it's training, spring racing. In the summer, kind of rebuilding. But again, we do a lot of this weekly mixed boats. We do weekly ergs. We do a little bit of cross training. But if you just wanted to see like just a little bit of a training cycle that we do with the varsity, again, this is just this year. Like I said, I felt like the guys were pretty technical, so I actually got good value out of the pairs this year. Okay, and we've got this big body of water where we're able to in the basin in the morning. It's fairly safe, but you typically do small boats in the morning. In the afternoon we would do because it's mostly technical. We would do our some conditioning on the erg at night. Do small boats again on Tuesday, and then we might do like 19-minute pyramid or 11-minute pyramids, just low rating. Tuesdays and Thursdays we actually dedicated for weights. Wednesday or Thursday we do Thursday we did a time trial this year, 4K. And then on Wednesdays we just do a little bit of like 30 strokes on or 20 strokes on, just kind of getting the stroke rate up for the time trial. And then depending on the year, like this year we went Friday into the 8, Saturday into the 8. The year before we did the time trial on Wednesdays, and then got back into the 8 on Thursday through Saturday. And then in the winter we go to an afternoon. So usually Mondays you'd have the guys do an on your own workout, usually steady state. We do call it our B&B, fairly hard workout. It might be 30 minutes or 10K. Tuesdays, actually, we do a no erg day that day. We do weights in the morning. I don't like doing weights, and then rowing right after that. So we go into a cross train. One thing we did a lot of was got from Zeno Mueller was incline treadmill. So the guys would go up to about 15 degrees, which is the highest you can get a treadmill, and 3.5 miles an hour. It just makes the erg look fun. Okay, but it's just you're just walking. But again, it's just heart rate doesn't get super high, but it's just a grind. And when you get off, I mean, it feels like your butt and your thighs are nice and full. Okay, and then Wednesdays we take it off, and afternoon we'll do an erg. Thursday, weights. We have tanks, so we'll do tanks and an erg. This is the real thing I wanted to get to on Fridays. Again, when you talk about, a lot of the coaches, again, we're talking about when you're erging, giving the guys or giving the team goals and, feel like we're going faster. And the descending workouts is something that I did in my first year a lot during the winter, where 10 minutes might be 10 minutes at, first year I had to wean them onto it pretty good. It might be like 2 or 3 seconds, or 2 seconds slower than 6K, and then the 8-minute was at 6K, and then the 6-minute was 2 or 3 seconds below. And we were able just to I felt like with the workouts, with the guys I was working with at the time, they weren't really, really fit, but I felt like I had to get them through the workout. Okay, and when I felt like they got through the workout, it was success. Okay, and then I was able to slowly kind of turn the dials on them. And then, talk about we had a major milestone. I remember one in the middle of February. I was looking at data from the year before, and a lot of times they did 5x5, but the first 5-minute was fast, and the second 5-minute was maybe a little slower, and it was just always like, there was no pacing involved, and just teaching them how to get through the workout. This is what I want you to do, okay? And if it's easy at the end, okay, the next time I know I can tweak you up higher, but show me what you can do versus don't show me what you can't do. And I remember we had a milestone. I remember we were doing one workout where the 4 minutes, after doing the 10, the 8, and the 6, the 4-minute, all the guys were, for that 4 minutes, faster than their average that they did for the 2K, way below than they had done the year before. And so I just felt like there was a confidence thing. It's like, okay, you've gone 4 minutes at faster than the 2K pace you did last year. You already did this other work. You can go another, if I asked you to, with a little bit of taper and, just to go 2,000 meters, a lot of guys, it might be another 2 minutes or hopefully another 2 minutes, right? It could be 6 minutes or, 2 minutes and 10 seconds or whatever. And, I just tried to kind of just feed them that. And it wasn't lying, okay? It was just showing them they felt confident. And sure, when we did our, that first, that 2K that winter, everybody, got personal best. So it was just a way of just kind of, bringing them along. And certainly from that first year to second year to third year, I've been able to turn that dial up on them a little bit more based on who I have now. Now it's just like, they're ready to go. They don't, pee their pants when it comes time to do an erg. It's like, it's just like, okay, it's professional, get on there and do it. Well, anyway, I talked a long time, and I hope this was helpful. I'll be around if you have any questions, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.